Have you ever wanted to be an adventurer? Have you ever wished that you could control the fabric of reality? That you could be one with nature, or harness the powers of chaos? That you were taller, maybe a little bit better in shape? That you didn't drive the barmaid into quitting with your pickup lines? Well, today you're in luck. Today we make a whole new you. Today we make a character in Pathfinder.
Now, whether you get your inspiration from a book, a picture, or the latest hit TV show, the process is the same. There are those that want to make the OP character for bragging rights at the table, or just mimic the abilities of their favorite fantasy character. While you should always strive to make a character functional and helpful to the party, you should not evict your vision just for function. Well, unless of course your vision is power, and then have at it. If you get worried about where to start, I can help you there. You can also get help online in a still thriving community of forums and Reddits, full of people ready to assist you with your builds. Or just peruse the material until something takes hold and it builds itself. Let's look at the basics for creating a character. Each character you need to pick a race, class, traits, if your GM allows them. Arrange your stats, features, buy your equipment, start playing. Most people start with their class and work out from there. Today we will start with a fighter. Using D20 PFSRD, we'll look at the class's starting ability as well as our progression. Now there are many ways to create almost any class, and a fighter is no exception. They range from making them light and quick, focusing on range combat, or the traditional heavy with frontline focus. The fact that fighters, along with their ability, plus they get more feats than anything else, allow you to build them any way you want. The fighter is also a good character to multiclass into in order to gain access to, well, those extra feats. Multiclassing is when you take another class aside from your starting in order to gain a different set of traits or abilities. Now for a race. A race generally defines the culture, origin of each character. They get their own starting bonuses, racial traits, things like that. There are races that imbue their player with slight magical bonuses, skill bonuses, or feats. And that's what we're looking at. For our character, let's stick to the core races. Let's pick a human. They get a +2 to any ability score that you want. Your movement is a base 30 because you're a medium-sized normal creature. You get a free feat, the reason why we're here, and one additional skill point at first and every level thereafter. First, we will look at the stats for our character, and then we will decide at what points go where. We will not cover everything on the stats in this video, including all the uses and skills that they affect with. I will cover that later. Stats have a baseline. We consider them to be 10. If you pick your stat either changing it by decreasing or increasing it, you will gain negatives or positive. So every 2 points above 10, you get a modifier, +1. If you have a strength score of 14, that means your modifier is +2. If you go under 10 at 9, and every 2 levels below that, you get a negative modifier. So if you have a 7, you get a -2 on your stat. Now we look at the stats. There are 6 ability scores that define a character's physical and mental capability. Strength, STR. The score determines the character's physical power, affecting their ability to carry weight, damage with weapons, and resist being moved. Dexterity, Dex, DX. The score determines a character's agility, affecting their ability to move quickly, also affects their reflex save. Constitution, Con. This score determines a character's health and stamina, affecting their hit points, ability to resist these. It is also your Constitution saving throw. Intelligence, Int. This score determines your character's mental acuity, affecting the ability to learn new skills, remembering information. Usually, modifiers will give a player an additional skill when they play as well. It is also something, depending on your class, like a wizard, that you have to focus on. Wisdom. This score determines your character's perception, affecting their ability to sense danger and resist mind affecting effects from spells or fear. This also contributes to your will saving throw. Charisma. This score determines your character's force of personality, affecting their ability to influence others, intimidate foes, and persuade that barmaid. The ability scores of characters are determined during character creation and can be increased through a variety of means, such as gaining levels, wearing magical items, or just taking feat. The higher a character's ability score, the better they will be at a task that rely on this ability. Also, in Pathfinder, unlike some editions, there's not really a cap. Now, on to filling those numbers. Now, there used to be several ways that used to fill. I started off with rolling 3 6-sided dice 6 times. You put the stats where you want them. Nowadays, we do things a lot more controlled and better, in my opinion. We either use a purchase system where each point above or below 10 is given a score. Every time you increase, it takes away from a pool of points that you've been given by your GM. And when you decrease an ability score, that pool of points increases so that you can then spend it on different abilities. But today, we will just use something back in my day that we called an array. We will have a set of numbers 16, 14, 13, 12, 10, and 8. This is what we will place into each stat for our character and decide what his abilities will be. So, in order of importance for our fighter, we're going to be going mostly with strength and constitution. We want to make a heavy fighter wearing heavy armor, standing on the front lines. So, the order of importance is strength so that we get the most out of our ability to attack and deal damage. That way we keep opponents glued to us and they can't just ignore it. Constitution. This ability is going to determine our HP, so we're going to be tougher on the front line. Dex, though it's going to be small, will still contribute slightly to our AC, but at least we're going to get a little bit of reflex out of it. Wisdom. Wisdom will help us a little bit with our saves, but it's not quite as important. Intelligence is not important for a fighter. We're not wizards. We do have a few skills that it can work with, but nothing will miss. Charisma, we're not the phase guys. We're there to be hit and to hit. So that's just going to be our dump stat. I don't care how low it gets on this guy. Giving us the ability scores of 16, but we're going to add the +2 for us being human. So 18 strength, 14 constitution, 13 dexterity, 12 wisdom, intelligence of 10, and a charisma of 8. Next, I'm going to pick some traits. Traits are considered part of your background. They provide a little boost to your character, or mathematically, we consider them, or a lot of us, about half the value of a feat. Traits may not be allowed in your game. You might want to run them by your GM. Most games I've ever played in allow 2 as long as they're not third party. Um, there is a system that involves you taking flaws to gain more traits, but a lot of people don't like that. We're going to select Armor Expert, which will lower our armor check penalty by 1 in armor. And then I'll select Resilience, because why not make our Fortitude even better? Now let's go to the class itself and see all that we start with at level 1. Hit points. At first level, we have a hit dice of 10, so at level 1 we start with maximum hit points, so 10, plus our Constitution modifier, so that means we're going to have a total hit points of 12 to start off with. All classes start off with maximum hit points in your first class at level 1. If you go into another class through multiclassing, you're still going to roll like everyone else, or like we do, we take the average at my table, and that way there's no rolling. You don't have to worry about getting a 1. You're never going to get a 10, but you don't have to worry about getting a 1. Saving throws. Your saving throws are going to be a +2 to fortitude, negative to your reflex and will saves. Fortitude's where we shine, guys. It's just how it is. Hopefully they don't target us with a sleep spell. Moving on. Proficiencies. You're proficient with all simple martial weapons, all armor, all shields. Armor and weapon proficiencies play a big role in your class. The fighter has access to the most out of the gate. Um, Proficiency with armor weapons means you don't suffer negatives for your attack, like a -4 for not knowing how to use a sword. Non-proficiency will cause an increased hindrance to your character, and if you're a spellcaster, it can mean you just downright fail. You are also going to be proficient in following skills. Skills like climb, intimidate, knowledge, engineering, perception, profession, ride, survival, and swim. Proficiency in skills means that if you spend a point, so if you put a rank into that skill and it's a class skill, you automatically get a +3 on top of whatever rank you have in and whatever ability modifiers or any other bonuses that you might have from something. Trained only skills require you to have it as a class skill or get it another way, like with some traits, in order to put a point into it. Any non-knowledge checks that are trained only, like linguistics or picking locks, disabled device, those skills, you have to have at least one rank in the skill before you can attempt a skill check in it. For knowledge checks, you can roll against a DC 10 skill check, but nothing higher. Other skills can be used and have points put into them by any character, and any character may attempt that skill. The only difference is that if it is a class skill, when you put your first rank into it, you get that +3, symbolizes you knowing more, it being easier for you and your class, your build, to be able to use it. A lot of people that I know and play with have gotten hung up with that, and they don't put anything into it if they don't get that +3. But if no one in the party has that skill, then even if you have no abilities into it, if you have extra skill points, put some ranks into it, it might mean life or death for your party, just depending on what skill it is. Skill ranks, fighter, we have 2 skill ranks per level. You get to add your intelligence modifier, and we add 1 per human. The maximum skill rank you can have equals your level. You can still have class bonuses and other bonuses added along with that, but you're only allowed to have your level in ranks in a skill. Base attack bonus. Base attack bonus will go up according to the class as you level. Regardless if all your base attack bonus are from one single class or multiple, whenever your base attack bonus reaches a +6, you gain what is called an iterative. An iterative is an additional attack made at 5 less of your base attack bonus than your main attack, your first one. These extra attacks can only be made as a full round attack action. Otherwise, you just get your one normal attack. This applies for melee and ranged martial characters, allowing them to make multiple attacks in a round. All bonuses for your weapon, magic, otherwise strength feats, everything gets applied to all your success iterative attack just at a -5 once that point of +6 has been reached. As you can see, the base attack bonus progression of a fighter, like many full martial characters, progress once at each level to a point that where you're making 4 attacks by level 16. Saves, fortitude, reflex, and will. We see fighters focus on having a good fortitude save and a weaker reflex and will save. As stated earlier, with stats, the saves pull from their appropriate ability, as well as any feats, traits, spells, magical items. You also get another feat from being a human. We will pick shield focus, weapon focus, and armor focus for our 3 feats at level 1. And remember, as you go on, if you decide that you don't like any of the feats that you've selected, you can retrain your feats given a little time, money, as long as the feat you're replacing is not required or a prerequisite for another feat. The feat here is Shielded Stand. As you can see, it has a prerequisite. You must be a fighter level 1 or higher, or have a base attack bonus of +3. And you have to have the feat Shield Focus, like the one we just took. If we take or want to take this feat, later on, we will not be able to change out shield focus as it's a prerequisite for this shield stand feat. The last thing you need to do is decide on your gear with the money you had. Average is 175 starting gold for a fighter. Okay, let's pick you up a chain shirt for 100 gold. And then we'll grab a heavy steel shield. And let's grab you a trusty longsword. And that should give us a little gold left over for anything else we might need, or something that maybe you want specifically for you. I recommend food and water. Now, as your character progresses, he's expected to gain wealth in accordance to his level. He will level in advancement through his chosen class, like our fighter. Feats, he will get every odd level, and every 4 levels, starting at level 4, he's going to get an ability score increase, ASI. This means that he will get a +1 to any of his ability scores that you would like to put it into. It is permanent, and it doesn't affect any of his other gear. It just adds to that score. As we look at the abilities that fighters get through advancing, at level 2, and every 4 levels after that, they get an ability called Bravery. This ability simply gives you an increase to your will save. So starting at just a +1, eventually it will go all the way up to a +5 on your will save. Not so bad now. We get armor training starting at level 3, and then again, every 4 levels after that we take a -1 on our armor check penalty. So we get to remove armor check penalty that we have. Because when you wear heavy armor, usually there are check penalties that you gain to certain skills, physical skills, acrobatics or swimming or anything like that. It's a penalty given for wearing armor. And the heavier the armor, which we're going to be wearing full plate, the worse it gets for us. So this will make it a little bit better. But we also get to add to the maximum dex bonus allowed by our armor. It will increase by 1, and at the same rate as what the previous bonus was, so every 4 levels. At level 5, get weapon training. Weapon training allows you to pick a group of weapons, as seen here, and you get a +1 bonus to attack and damage rolls in any of the weapons in that group. Every 4 levels thereafter, 9, 13, 17, a fighter becomes further trained in another group of weapons. He gains a +1 bonus on attack and damage rolls when using a weapon from this group, and in addition, the bonuses granted by the previous group of weapons he selected increase by 1. So if you're a level 9 fighter, you get a +1 with attack and damage rolls for one group, and then your old group, you're going to get a +2 now to your attack and damage rolls that you selected at level 5. The bonuses granted from overlapping groups, if you find them, do not stack. You take the highest bonus granted for a weapon. If it resides in 2 groups or more, it doesn't matter. Highest bonus is usually a pretty good rule in everything in this game, but the fact that this increases with your level as the ability increases makes it very important to decide what you're going to pick for the first weapon training at level 5. This makes up the bulk of fighter ability, alternating and increasing your martial prowess. But now at 19, though, we get a nice one, armor mastery. When we are using armor or just wielding a shield, we get DR 5. This means damage reduction 5. The slash with the dash means that there is nothing that overcomes this. So, unless there is an exception that says otherwise, each time you are hit with a weapon, claw, bite attack, whatever, you're going to take 5 off that damage. This doesn't count things like Dragon's Breath or spells, but taking off 5 every time it hit is going to add up quickly, especially at later levels. The last ability is our level 20 capstone, the ability Weapon Master. You get to pick a weapon, and that's a type of weapon let's say our longsword that we started with. Any attacks made with that weapon automatically confirm all critical threats and have their damage multiplier increased by 1. And he cannot be disarmed while he wields this weapon. So that means when you roll a crit, so either a crit on a natural 20 sided dice when you're guaranteed to hit, or like if you roll a 19, which is the critical threat range for our sword, you don't have to roll again to confirm that critical hit. If you hit him on a 19, that's a crit, you don't have to confirm, and you just get to stack up your damage. So, and it's triple, not double, like it was previously. Now, there are other capstones that you can pick from. Just ask your GM. Also, every class, if you go all the way through 20 levels of the same class, you get a capstone. You either get the one listed for the class at level 20, or you can pick from these alternates. It's a nice way to reward you for sticking with the class. I mean, back in my day, many years ago, when I did 3rd edition and 3.5, you almost never would stick with one class. You would always have to multi-class. And the class progression in this game, along with the capstone, makes it so you want to see your class through to get to the good stuff at higher level. And this is your introduction to Basic Fighter. I know I didn't go over all the feats that we could have gotten. I didn't go over all the gear that we could have bought. That's largely going to depend on you. I mean, it's your character. How he progresses will be dependent on you, how you want to play him. He is a blank page that can be changed and molded to however you want. Character creation is one of the many rewarding and enjoyable experiences that you can have when you play Pathfinder. If you want to see this build progress, though, or if you want to see a full build of any other class, put it in the comments below.
If you like this video, check out my others. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. If you have any tips or requests, drop them in the comments below. And until next time, may your crits be epic, your adventures legendary, and your gaming table filled with laughter.